Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. This episode, we're exploring how ordinary, law-abiding citizens can get swept up into an authoritarian system, and not through some violent, dramatic break with the past, but through a slow, almost invisible process of things just becoming normal.
So, how does the unthinkable become the everyday? To get at an answer, we're going to turn to a really powerful book, published way back in 1955. It's based on a series of interviews done right after the war with former members of the Nazi Party.
The book is They Thought They Were Free, and the author, Milton Mayer, wanted to understand the average German. He wasn't focused on the high-ranking officials, he wanted to talk to the little men, the everyday people who became part of the whole Nazi system.
So he found 10 of them, and his whole goal was to understand them not as monsters, but as ordinary human beings. He figured if he could just understand their lives, their choices, he could understand how the entire system actually worked on the ground level.
And these 10 people, they weren't high-ranking officials or anything like that. I mean, look at this list. A tailor, a cabinet maker, a baker, a teacher, a policeman. These are just regular professions, people you'd meet any day of the week.
What their stories show is a process that wasn't some sudden shock to the system. No, it was a gradual habituation to a new reality. Each little change seemed so small, so insignificant, that it just didn't feel like a big deal at the time.
One of the men Mayer interviewed, a philologist, just described this feeling perfectly. He said, you don't really see the big change happening because each step along the way is so small. And before you know it, you look around and you realize everything has changed right under your nose.
And that is the core system insight of this entire book. It's not like someone just flips a switch and plunges a country into darkness. It's much, much more subtle. It's like a dimmer switch.
So think about this dimmer switch system for a second. An authoritarian system can slowly, gradually lower the moral visibility in a society. Each new decree, each little restriction that people accept, it just turns that switch down another tiny notch.
The room still looks familiar, but it's just getting progressively darker. And the system holds together because saying yes, just conforming, becomes the absolute path of least resistance. Saying no means risk, isolation, maybe losing your job, but saying yes, well, that means security, community, safety. It becomes a pretty easy choice for most people.
And as Mayer points out, a lot of men joined the party for totally practical reasons. It was a way to get a job, or keep your job, or get a promotion. It was just easier. One teacher even admitted that survival meant being glad when something terrible happened to somebody else, as long as it wasn't happening to you.
And right there, that is the crisis in perception. We so often look back at things like this and see them as a single, extreme historical event. But when we do that, we completely miss the systemic patterns of gradual change that allowed it to happen in the first place. We miss the slow turning of the dimmer switch. And this whole process, it's reinforced by all these other interconnected systems. Think about it. A tradition of a non-political civil service, just doing its job, or even simple social separations that already exist between communities, they all play a part.
The real genius of the system, if you can call it that, is that the outward forms of life stay the same. You still go to your job, the shops are still open, you still celebrate holidays, and all of that is really reassuring. It makes people feel like nothing fundamental has changed, even while the entire spirit of their society is being completely transformed. So it kind of leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What are the forms in our own world today that reassure us, that make us feel like everything's okay, even while the spirit might be changing?
This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a longer audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.